It's delayed. It's like a delay.
Even though we have red lights?
6:12.
Jamestown?
It's not as hot.
Y'all can spread out. Put y'all in there tight together. All right, it's 6:30. We'll go ahead and get started. Let's do roll call, please. We have a quorum, 5 members present, myself. Tonight's invocation will be by Pastor Jacob Schofield.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, Lord, I thank you for our community of Manchester. I thank you for the elected officials, the civil servants, and the volunteers that have gathered, Lord. Lord, I ask for focus. I ask for patience and understanding as we come together to seek out how to better our community, Lord. I pray these things in your holy name. Amen.
Pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor. Next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, let's vote, please. Motion carries 5-0. Next item is the minutes from the June 3rd, 2025 BOMA meeting and also the June 19th BOMA special call minutes. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, let's vote, please. Motion carries 5-0. Next is comments from the citizens.
Good evening, Sarah Bradley. Patience, understanding, and what was the third one? Focus. That I need the most. What a great prayer. I am before you tonight about the slum clearance, and I'm going to admit I didn't get a chance to read that till yesterday. I understand that changes were needed. I understand that the current code does not have enough teeth. There are a few things in this, however, that I find very concerning that kind of open not only the city itself, but also that whichever individual is designated to carry out this code. I believe we could be putting them in an awkward position and that we are opening ourselves up to arbitrary and capricious decisions and conflicts that could be avoided with just some minor edits. I don't know if this went through any committee. I haven't seen it on any committee agenda. I don't know if it's possible to refer it back to that committee for those minor edits. But the main issues, are there's some issues with timing. In some places it's specified and in others it's not. So there's some little windows where the public officer could take action before the property owner has been able to file an injunction, and then we get into some ugly business we could have avoided. Hopefully that wouldn't happen, but, you know, sometimes these codes don't get amended for decades. I do not have any concerns about current staff carrying out this code or what their intent would be. But we are legislating code for years to come, and employees we haven't met yet. Another issue are the remedies. Well, there is only one remedy for the affected property owner, and it does not allow them to recover any damages if the court were eventually to find that the city or its designee had erred. There's just some loose stuff. Again, I'm not asking you to vote no. And I don't know if this went through committee, but because it didn't, I'm a little late to the game. So I would respectfully ask that you refer this back to committee and make sure that whatever committee that came from is posting agendas. This seems to me like something that would come from streets, but I haven't seen an agenda from them since January. So that's it.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Any more comments? Comments from the mayor? First, we'd like to welcome everybody to tonight's meeting. Vice Mayor Messick is not in attendance tonight. He's at a VFW silent auction doing auctioneer duties. I want to let you know that. And then, of course, if you read or heard any news about the Little Leaf farms coming to Manchester, that's going to be really exciting for the community. I see part of the industrial team that made that happen is here, and we want to thank you guys for all your hard work. Last comment I have is there's been some comments around the June 19th meeting not being published and not given proper notice. I'd like for you to look at publication in the June 11th Manchester Times. It has the agenda and the notice that we were having the meeting. Next item is comments from commissions. Safety.
Good evening. How y'all doing?
Good. Yourself?
Doing good today. So last month, during the month of June, we had 74 responses. We had 1 vehicle fire, and we had 16 motor vehicle accidents we responded to. We assisted Manchester PD with Bonnaroo traffic control, and all the guys really enjoyed that. We promoted Jonathan Seiler to lieutenant for B shift. Firefighter Novea and Firefighter Frame passed their Firefighter 2 exams. And then we recently posted this week a opening for firefighters this month. And then last month we had a minor issue with truck 610. We fixed in an hour. This morning we had another minor issue with it, and we're able to fix it again, and within another hour, the truck's back in service and everything's fine.
Yeah, and I noticed that one of the firemen that he got a new certification for.
Yes, sir. And yes, sir. James Price got his EVT 1 certification, and I think it was EVT 2 certifications for working on fire vehicles. Now he's working on one for pumps and ladders.
That
Did a good
seems to
job.
be a good resource.
Yes, sir. Outstanding resource. That resource is money well spent, very well spent.
Thank you guys for that.
Thank you, sir.
You said you had 16 car accidents.
That we responded to, yes, sir.
How many of those in the county? Or did you?
I didn't break it up yet. I'll break it up at the safety committee meeting. I didn't look at that. Sometimes it's, 4 in the city and 12 in the county. Sometimes it's 12 in the city and 4 in the county. It just depends. I didn't look at it that close tonight.
And if you don't care, just go into a little bit about why we would go in the county.
The reasons we go into the county is primarily for vehicle extrication. So any vehicle extrication on our side of the county, which is from Crumpton Creek, I-24, all the way out to Canning County, if there's any vehicle extrications in those areas, we're the primary responder for all vehicle extrication. And we did do a couple of vehicle extrications this past month.
I understand it's a good service.
Yes, sir, it's a great service. Those guys are really proficient in what they do. Very proficient.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening. So first of all, I'd like to express my sincere thanks to the mayor and the city department heads for your support in providing additional personnel for Bonnaroo this year. Although it was cut short due to weather, your assistance was greatly needed and truly appreciated. So I'd like to, at this time, recognize one of our officers who just recently graduated the Tennessee Law Enforcement Training Academy, and that's Officer Matthew DeLong. Matthew, stand up. So Matt successfully completed and graduated from Tennessee Law Enforcement Training Academy, and this is a comprehensive 12-week basic police training academy that prepares recruits to become post-certified Tennessee police officers. So that would allow Matt to work anywhere in the state of Tennessee under the post-commission. Matt, I truly appreciate you. I look forward to serving beside you, and certainly thank you for your contributions to the Manchester Police Department. Also, Mayor, I'd like to recognize Cody McMurtry. Officer McMurtry was recognized as our Manchester Police Department Officer of the Quarter for the period of April through June. Officer McMurtry has served with the department for nearly 2 years now and has consistently demonstrated exceptional performance. We sincerely appreciate his dedication, his professionalism, and his commitment to serving both the department and the citizens of Manchester. Also, I'd like to make a note, we have recently installed our digital messaging boards, one in the police lobby downstairs as you come in the doors, and also one in our squad room. And these information platforms will help to provide information to citizens and employees of our upcoming city and community events, as well as also serving as a tool to keep our officers informed of important departmental-related matters. Our next Safety Committee meeting is scheduled for Monday, July the 14th at 5 p.m. here in the boardroom.
Thank you. Good job. Next is finance.
Good evening. Yesterday was the end of the 2025 fiscal year. We've begun wrapping that year up, last-minute payments, bank reconciliations, et cetera. We'll have 25 closed here in a couple of weeks. We've submitted the 2026 budget to the state on time. We've received formal receipt from them. We're just waiting on their formal acceptance as they review it and then give their formal approval. We've implemented, again, one more payment feature here in the city where you can now pay by e-check if you choose. And we've already received the first few payments on our utility billing via e-check, but you can use it to pay taxes, whatever. So it's just one more feature to pay the city, which is helpful. Tomorrow, the finance department specifically starts meeting with some of the folks down at the conference center to begin the financial assimilation into the Department of Tourism here with the city. And we've completed the movement of the cash to the new bank accounts, so that's been finished. We now have begun phase 2, where we're in the process of separating the funds between operational and investment accounts. Our goal there is to optimize or increase the amount of interest we're getting on our money. So anyway, that's it.
Anthony, how long have you been with the city?
14 months.
In 14 months, you've done what, 3 audits now?
Yeah, we're going to wrap up the 25 audits, so we did, yes, 3 audits.
Thank you very much. Good job.
Thank you.
Street?
We are still working on the Hills Chapel Road sidewalk. We are still paving some of the city streets. We're about halfway finished with those. We're working on some drainage issues here by City Hall and behind City Hall. And our next meeting is July the 10th at 4:30 here in the boardroom.
Thank you.
You'll-
Water and sewer?
Good evening. Manchester Water and Sewer Department Commission meeting is July 3rd at 3 PM in the boardroom. Month of June, we fixed 8 sewer lines that were either collapsed or taking on water, with one that had the with one that had the capability of taking in 3,000 to 4,000 gallons per minute on Roberts Boulevard. That was found by televising, and also comparisons from the month of May of 2024 to the month of May in 2025. There's been a reduction of 13 million gallons of influent flow from our wastewater treatment plant, with an increase of rainfall from 3.3 inches last May to 3.69 inches this May. So that's a pretty good decrease in I&I. Water distribution, we made 9 repairs on service lines and water mains. 5 water taps were made and 2 fire hydrants were repaired. We also televised 7,182 feet of sewer line over 7 days during the month of June, as a camera van was down for 20 days due to servicing.
Thank you.
Yes,
Good
sir.
report.
Also, Emily Bull, she received her grade 3 wastewater treatment certification.
Perfect. Recreation?
Good evening. The estimated guest count for the month of June of those that visited the rec center was 18,694 guests. This number does not include those that visited the facility for an open swim party, youth wellness room party, swim lesson, private swim lesson, gymnastics, or a dance class. This also does not include those that visit us from the Manchester City School Summer Journey Program, because they have a contract with us and paid us in advance for their visits. During the month of June, we hosted 1 fast-pitch softball tournament with 23 teams. We also hosted the Good Friends Music Fest and the Manchester Coffee County Library End of Summer Reading Festival at Rotary Park. We also hosted a Mako swim meet. July 4th celebration will be held at Rotary Park on Friday, July the 4th. Food trucks will serve from 6 to 9. We'll have musical entertainment by Southbound Crows from 7 to 9. Fireworks will be launched from Fred Edmund Park at 9 o'clock, with Thunder Radio providing the soundtrack on their radio station and at Rotary Park. This event is made possible by the Manchester Parks Recreation Department and the Manchester Tourism and Community Development Commission. The next Recreation Commission meeting will be on July the 9th at 4:30 here in the boardroom.
Thank you. Hang on just one second. Let's talk about the air conditioning. So everybody knows we're having air conditioning issues. We have a new chiller that has been purchased. AJ and I were on a call today, and it looks like that the week of September 22nd, we're going to install the new chiller. We've been repairing the one that we have to try to keep it up and running. And we also had a meeting today to discuss temporary air conditioner on site, a chiller type of a unit in case it goes down again, so that we can try to keep the complex cool. So I just want everybody to know that AJ and his team is working extremely hard at this. When we made the decision last year, the lead time was
6 to 8 months.
6 to 8 months when the board pulled the trigger on the unit. So just a little update. Keep up the good work, okay? Tourism is next. Vice Mayor Messick sits on that one. Next meeting is the 14th. Is there something else he wanted? Anyway, planning and zoning.
Following the June Planning Commission meeting, you all do have a couple of rezonings on the agenda tonight. Our next Planning and Zoning Commission meeting is July 21st at 5:30. It is a full agenda. We have the rough draft ready, but it will be posted by the end of next week. It includes a few rezonings itself and an additional annexation.
Hang on, don't go far. Historical zoning.
So that meeting will be held Thursday, July 3rd, here in the boardroom at 5 o'clock. There are 3 items on the agenda for that.
Thank you. Good job. Resolution and ordinances.
Resolution A, a resolution of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen of the City of Manchester adopting a fee schedule for the Manchester Rec Complex and establishing related procedures, sponsored by Vice Mayor Messick.
Has everybody had a chance to look at those fees? They were passed in the Rec Commission meeting. Budget and Finance passed them as well. I believe it was all unanimous through both committees. At this time, we'll entertain a motion. Could I get you to tell us who makes the motion? We're having a little technical difficulty.
I'll make a motion.
Alderman Anderson makes the motion. Do we have a second? I'll second. Alderman Parsley, any discussion from the board about the fees? Hearing none, please vote. Or are you going to be live? Okay. Fees, that resolution passes 5-0.
Ordinance A, second reading of an ordinance rezoning that property owned by Richard Agbagor on Gilly Circle and recently annexed into the city, amended from RS1 to R4, map 6B, parcel 55, sponsored by Vice Mayor Messick. This is a public hearing.
This time, if the public would like to make comments, please step up to the podium.
Hello, my name is Milton Freeze. I own the property directly across the street from the 2-acre lot or 1.97 lot. There's me and there's 8-9 of us here. I've talked to 5, 6, 7 other people here that live between Llewellyn and Gilly Circle, which is the connecting road between Gilly Circle and 41 Highway. And I'll let anybody else wants to speak, that's fine. But I'd like to say that we are all against this going to R4. We all rather have R1 or RS1, whatever it may be. But R4, we are completely against. We do not need the extra heavy traffic on our little bitty road that we already have. Thank you.
Thank you.
I promise I'll be quick. I mostly just want to give you something because last month several people spoke about traffic from this development on their rural road in their rural subdivision, and somehow the discussion among the board was about whether it was contiguous or not, and that was never in question. The question was vehicular access. So what you have here is, again, over 14 acres being annexed, well, it's already been annexed into the city, including 3 subdivision lots. Here, I'll give it to you. You can see the road in red. That's a rural road, Llewellyn Drive. It is 20 feet wide with a 30 or 40-foot right-of-way. It's a rural road, and you can tell when you drive down it. It's a neat neighborhood. Sorry to keep coming through, but I've enjoyed talking with some of you, those of you I've met. This has no connection to a city road. So the question is, what are we going to do about that? And is it appropriate to be sending city traffic down a rural subdivision road without upgrading or accepting that road? Again, these are subdivision parcels, 3 of them. They're pretty wet, so they're probably not buildable. Hopefully, we check for wetlands on this one. There's a lot we've missed recently, but also hopefully this gives you an idea. For example, you could see the old R4 compared to the new, and just get an idea of how many annexations we've had up in that area. But again, their concerns about traffic are not about whether it's contiguous or not. It touches the Gilly land. It's contiguous. The question is access. Under R4, you can fit a lot of homes on that land, especially someone who's going to use every inch and every exception and every bit of wiggle room they can get.
My name's Ricky Christie. I live at 551 Gilly Circle. As I've studied the different zoning requirements, we live in a small little single dwelling homes. We don't need a multiple complex type home or apartment in that area. As you stated, it will just increase traffic. Since there's only one way in and out of that subdivision. So we do not need to go to R4 for a multiple living complex there. As I said, we're all single dwelling homes, single family homes. So I strongly urge you to decline this motion.
Thank you. I'll make a quick comment. Just because it's zoned something, we're not sure what is going to actually happen on the land. Just because you change the zoning, there's a whole nother process that they would go through, that if it is multifamily homes and the board feels that it doesn't fit, that is the time we would turn that down. This right here is just to change the zoning, then they would present a plan to planning and zoning of what it is they actually intend to do. So we have no idea other than they're asking for the possibility since they were annexed. Let's see. Nope. Alderman French, we got a second. We got a motion and a second. You okay, Alderman? Yeah. Come on up, sir.
Yes, I'm Scotty Hussey. I live at 675 Gilly Circle. And I know they was talking about the road
Yes,
and
sir.
traffic and all that. I drive a 2500 Silverado. And in order to actually pass on that road safely, when we come up on mailbox and stuff, we do have to get over as far as we can when passing vehicles like that. If they do put a multi-complex in there, as I said, it was going to bring more traffic in. And we have kids that run around the neighborhood. They feel safe. They can walk around that road. They don't have to worry about any of us, any of the traffic. So as far as that, that road is not big enough for if a multi-complex comes in there. It's, big enough for what we got, and that's about it.
Okay. Thank you. Alderman French.
So I've got a couple of questions specifically about the road. If this was hypothetically a new development, would this road would it meet the requirements of a new development? So say this was being built out in a field, would the width and the current structure of the road meet the requirements of a new development?
It's not a city-approved street, but it is a public road. So the minimum requirement for a residential street in the city is 22 feet width of pavement, but I can't speak on the construction of the road considering the age of the road.
Okay. Has there been any discussion about the road being adopted into the city?
No, sir.
Okay. So I can't think of another situation where a neighborhood in the city depends on a county road for access. And maybe I'm wrong. If I am, I'd like to have an example if someone has one, not just you, Brittany, but anybody. But here's my problem. We have Magnolia Glen that sits inside of the city limits that has requested to be brought into the city limits multiple times. And we have rejected that as a board. And to be fair, I don't believe many of you were on the board when we voted on that. Donnie, you may have been on it. But if we're going to reject Magnolia Glen because the infrastructure isn't up to city standards, how in the world would we allow a development to depend on a road that is not also up to city standards just because we're not responsible for it? So that's my biggest problem with this is I don't know that there's precedent, so I'm certainly not speaking to that, but I do think that, you know, if this were to happen and there's a development back there that depends on a county road that doesn't meet the requirements, I think we have to reevaluate things like Magnolia Glen. I even think at the end of Forestwood Drive, the A-frames have been considered for adoption into the city. And since those roads aren't up to city standards, we say no. I think that is example enough not to pass this. Unless we're willing to take the road into the city and upgrade it up to city standards, I think that those are pretty comparable situations.
So the two developments that you mentioned that are within the city limits, those were developed as PUDs?
Sure.
And not only would the construction of the roadway not meet the city standards, but there were some zoning issues, so the dwellings that are in place would not meet setbacks, or there's just simply not enough right-of-way there. And then with, I lost my train of thought. But, so those were developed as PUDs, and when those were developed, they understood that those were not to be city streets.
But at the end of the day, again.
I understand what you're saying, I just wanted to clarify
For
that.
sure, no, and I think it's a good point, for sure. I know Magnolia Glen, you know, that particular situation, I really do think we should reevaluate because it had a lot to do with the developer more. But that's always the case, right? I mean, so.
I'll also say in planning and zoning, a lot of times with developments where the roadway is questionable, we do require a traffic study.
I would be for this if we were, if we were willing to take the city in, to take the street into the city and bring it up to city standards, I would support this. But without that, I can't support it.
The question about Magnolia.
Alderman 3, could you speak into the microphone so everybody could hear you, please?
The question about Magnolia Glen is whether the street will be taken over by the city, right? Is that the question?
It was a statement.
Yeah, I was just making a statement, but in previous question, it was, they were asking for us to take the street in, correct? Because it is in the city limits, and they do pay city taxes, but they are responsible for the street maintenance. Because it was developed as a PUD, and I mean, that was the agreement from the beginning, but they have requested in the past to be brought back into this, to have the streets adopted into the city. Specifically the streets, I know, and Brittany is correct in saying there are certainly other stipulations within that neighborhood that would not meet city standards, but the last time it came before the board, it was specifically about the streets. And that's why I draw a comparison to this.
And in all fairness too, right, it could be a punch list item when they decide to bring the development to planning and zoning, that we ask them to bring the road up to par before it was taken in. So there's lots of options in the next phase. This is just simply annexing the property into the city. Thank you. Any more comments?
This is for rezoning, correct, not annexation?
Yeah, we've already annexed it. I'm sorry, rezoning.
Clarify.
Yep, you're perfectly correct. So we have a motion and a second. Let's vote, please. Motion fails. Next.
The second reading of an ordinance rezoning that property owned by Richard Agbagor on Gilly Circle and recently annexed into the city, amended from RS1 to R1, map 68F, Group B, parcels 17, 18, and 19, sponsored by Vice Mayor Messick. To public hearing.
Any comments? Hearing none. Do we have a verbal motion and a second?
Myself and Alderman Crossland, motion and second.
So I'm sorry about that, it's just not on the screen. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion from the board? Hearing none, let's vote, please. Motion fails 3-2. C,
Second reading of an ordinance rezoning that property owned by Manchester Villas LLC on 3180 Murfreesboro Highway to C3 and recently annexed into the city, sponsored by Vice Mayor Messick. This is a public hearing.
any comments from the public? Hearing none, we have a motion and a second. The motion is by Alderman Crosland, second is by Alderman French. Any comments from the board? Any discussion?
What's the current zoning? RS1 to C3.
Yeah, this is basically changing it from a rural designation from RS1 to a city designation of R1. It's not changing the actual. C3. Oh, C3, I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong one. So it's, yes, this is on Murfreesboro Highway. They're asking for it to be zoned commercial. Any more comments?
I just want, that has been a standard, pretty much any of the highway frontage has always been rezoned to commercial.
Okay, let's vote, please. Motion carries 5-0.
D, a second reading of an ordinance to amend Manchester Municipal Code 14-809 and 810 relative to annexation, zoning, and subdivision fees, sponsored by Vice Mayor Messick.
Have a motion and a second. Motion. Motion by Anderson, second by Crosland. Any discussion? If not, let's vote, please. Motion fails 3-2.
E, second reading of an ordinance amending the Manchester Municipal Code by deleting the current Chapter 3, and adding a new Chapter 3 to Title 13, Property Maintenance Regulations, sponsored by Vice Mayor Messick.
Entertain a motion and a second, please. Motion by Alderman French, second by Alderman Parsley. Any discussion from the board? Hearing none, let's vote, please. You can tell we're having a little technical difficulty tonight, so just be patient with us.
Yes.
Sorry about that.
Is it too late for me to say anything? I meant to comment on this. It's okay if it is.
Sorry about that. Motion fails 3-1 with one abstain. Fine job. F.
First reading of an ordinance to amend Manchester Municipal Code 18-201, 202, 203, and 205 regarding water, sewer, service, and equipment fees, sponsored by Alderman Anderson.
We have a motion and a second. We have a motion by Alderman French, a second by Alderman Crosland. Any discussion?
What is this regarding water fees?
No, Alderman Threet, we put all this out in a packet that is given to you. It would be really nice if you would pick it up and read it.
Alderman Anderson?
Director Perry, can you come up and talk to him, please?
So Alderman Threet, this is getting our water and sewer rates up to, more or less up to date to where we need to be able to operate efficiently. And, I mean, for the past, I don't want to put a time frame on it, but the rates have not been kept up to date. So this is getting the rates up to where we need to be self-sustaining and to be able to not only get the equipment we need, but for capital improvement projects to take place. So there's also current charges for equipment, for labor. I mean, you can go down the packet list and see everything that I've laid out. It's pretty much self-explanatory. It's just getting us to where we are self-sustainable and we are not going into the red each year.
Is this I've gotten some phone calls about this.
Mhm.
That's why I wanted some clarification. Is this the, quote, raise it to what Tullahoma's is?
This has nothing to do with Tullahoma. This is, I know that that's been said, but this is where we need to be as a city, not comparative to Tullahoma, even though we buy water from the same place Tullahoma is, but the state of disrepair in our water system and our sewer system, we have to raise our rates to the point to where we can make the improvements that are necessary. Historically, we have been taking losses, and, I mean, I know it's a pretty big increase off the jump, but over the years, over the next 3 years, more or less, it kind of tapers down. And it'll be minimal increases over the next 3 years, and we'll reevaluate where we're at that point. But yes, any other questions that you have for me?
No.
Okay.
Alderman Anderson?
I will say, as the BOMA representative that serves on the Water and Sewer Commission, this proposal is not anything that anyone takes lightly. We know it's not going to be a popular thing, but it was deemed to be a necessary thing because the cost of providing the services has gone up. And if we want to be a proactive and professional department and be able to reliably deliver water and sewer services and also fix the problems that we know we have, then it's been deemed necessary by the commission. Thank you, guys.
And to add a further comment, I mean, at the end of the day, that is the only way we can continue to do the work that is being done to correct the system. There's no city taxes, no sales tax, property tax, nothing funds water and sewer but the actual rates that you pay for the service provided.
Also, as the city grows, we're going to need more staff, and I mean, this will help fund that as well.
Any more comments or questions?
Well, you take in more money, I would assume, as you take in more customers.
I mean, so moving forward, tap fees historically is where the money has been made, and even that is something that, I mean, is going to be in front of y'all before long. So, I mean, it's basically a comprehensive rate change across the board with fees, labor rates, equipment usage, water rates, sewer rates. So everything is coming before you, so that way, you know, you don't want the city coming in and setting your rate, or not, excuse me, not the city, you don't want the state coming in and setting your rates. And we're just, trying to get up to speed to where we need to be as a department.
And the other part of that too, right, is we were very fortunate that we had ARP monies that was granted to us from federal and state government, to the tune of probably $7 to $9 million. I don't remember the exact number, but we have worked through about all that money and projects. So all the work that's been getting accomplished here recently is through some of that. And if we want to continue that work, we have to have a rate increase to continue to fix the system. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Alderman French?
I just want to point out on the Tullahoma piece of that, that was unfortunate that that came to be where there's comments going back and forth, but I will say, if you look at the majority of what people use, if you looked at that breakdown, majority, the people that fall in the majority, we are behind on Tullahoma rates. Maybe not in other categories, but in that general usage. But if you're one of the people that are out beating their door down on sewer and improvements, like, you can't have it both ways. We've got to have a funding mechanism to correct those things, and we can't do that if we're falling behind on rate versus what we have to pay for the material.
Thank you. Any more comments from the board? Let's vote, please. Motion fails 3-2.
G, first reading of an ordinance rezoning property owned by Southern Custom Building LLC located on Ingram Street, identified as Coffee County Tax Map 85A, Group A, Parcel 5, from I-1 to R4, sponsored by Vice Mayor Messick.
We get a motion and a second, please. We have a motion and a second. Motion by Alderman French, second by Alderman Crosland. Any discussion? Let's vote, please.
This is zoned industrial. I drove over there and looked at it. Why is it zoned? That seems odd. It's right in the middle of Ingram Street, you know, the block.
Come on up, Director Fisk.
That whole entire side of Ingram Street is zoned industrial, almost, nearly the entire side of Ingram Street is zoned industrial. I can't speak as to why. It's always been zoned that way since I've been employed here.
And it's all residential.
That's correct.
It should be named Dog Street too, but anyway.
Okay. But so I think that this rezoning is without question applicable.
Thank you. Any more comments? Let's vote, please. Motion carries 4-1.
First reading of, H, first reading of an ordinance rezoning property owned by Manchester Housing Authority located on Woodrow Street, identified as map 75E, groups B, C, and D, from R2 to R4 residential, sponsored by Vice Mayor Messick.
We have a motion by Alderman Crosland, a second by Alderman French. This is with the Housing Authority, and what their intent over there to do is to make, I'll tell you what, Ms. Hudson, do you come up for just a second, please?
Hello.
Just tell us a little bit about what you want to do,
sorry.
please. Yes, ma'am.
Are you familiar with Justin's Court, the new property over, we built that in '21. It's on Oakdale Street. We plan on building something mirrored after that. It's for our elderly, disabled, affordable housing. We'll go after grants and a loan. It will not be subsidized by the federal government at all. It won't be taxed on the taxpayers. But our passion is the elderly disabled. Our waiting list at the, it is for affordable housing. Our waiting list for our elderly is 100 plus. So that's what we'd like to do, to make it a nice community.
What is affordable housing? What is the price bracket for those folks?
Our plan is, it'll be like in Justin's Court, it's 620 square feet, something like that. And the apartments range about $494 to $500. But again, it's not subsidized. With the Manchester Housing Authority's name on it, people immediately think that it's a government program. But we'll go after Federal Home Loan Banks, which is a banking institute that helps affordable housing. It helps the elderly the affordable elderly that like their homes break down and they need a new HVAC. They apply for grants and stuff like that. But that's it.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
Yes, I have a question. When I was reading through this, I read in there where it is in a floodplain.
Well,
Ms. Helston explained to me the area where y'all was at. And how many units are you thinking of building?
That's all in the makings right now. We haven't got a site plan.
Like Joey
Yes.
explained, it's not been set up yet.
Right. If the grants.
You need to know something.
Well, the grants that we're going, it will not, if you pull up the map, it is, it's not, there's parts of it that are in floodplain, but there's lots that's not. The grants that we're going.
Really define it nowhere on anything we've got.
You all do not have a floodplain map, no, sir.
Right.
But she's correct in that the floodplain is simply just along the river. But there is a significant amount of property that is not within the floodplain that would still be developable. Even though it's in the floodplain, it still has a zone assigned. So currently it's zoned R2, but it's still in the floodplain. The floodplain and the floodway are not going to change, just the underlying zone that we have.
Okay, but, well, of course, we're not at this point. Who was putting the road in? We're not to that point yet.
It would be the responsibility of the developer to put the roads in. Thank you, ma'am. Anybody got any more comments? I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I just want to comment that the Kingwood Arms we have very limited elder living. And Kingwood Arms also has a very similar, very, very long waiting list. So there's a real high demand for this, and I wish you could build more of it, honestly.
Thank you. Any more comments? Let's vote, please. Motion carries 5-0. 9, new business. Don't think we have any. New business, A, we're asking for job descriptions to be approved for the new Manchester Event and Visitor Center. Would like everybody to do this one at a time, or do you want to do them all together? They're all grouped together right now. Does anybody see any that needs to be broken out? And just as an FYI, we took the current job descriptions that were given to us and just retitled them from what they had. So there's not a whole lot new. But we have a general manager, event coordinator, part-time event staff and laborer, part-time bookkeeper / accountant. Entertain a motion and a second. Motion by Crosland, second by French. Any discussion?
Just like any other of these job descriptions that have come before us in the last couple of years, I do think that I would advocate that we take out the requirement of a bachelor's degree with this particular position. I know a couple other positions we've left it in, but most of these, all of these that have come to us, I think we redid finance, and I was fine with that, with the degree in the field. But particularly in hospitality, there's a lot of people that get in at entry level, especially in tourism, and they work at a hotel, and they work their way up, or they work in a kitchen, they work their way up. They may have certifications, but not necessarily a degree. And tourism and hospitality degrees are relatively new around here. MTSU has a program, but Motlow just recently initiated a program in hospitality. And I understand you can get a degree in whatever and it still qualify, but if you don't have a degree in the field of subject, the subject field, I don't understand why that gives you any kind of advantage either way. So I would just like to make a motion or a proposal that we eliminate that as a requirement, but it be, you know, a preferred attribute.
So the motion that's on the floor is that we remove the requirement for a bachelor's degree on, you say all of them, Alderman
I
French?
think the only one that has it is the general manager. The other ones do not have, I don't believe it's required.
Okay.
On there, it has equivalent combinations of education and experience.
Yeah, but then, so in education experience, it says blah, 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 or, but then on the actual, at the beginning, it says it's required. So there's two entries of that. One of them references it being required, and the other one says, you know, similar skills. I just want to eliminate the language that requires it.
Okay, so again, the motion on the floor is to remove under the requirements section, under the general manager for a bachelor's degree.
Yeah, and to be specific, I'm sorry, I'll shut up. I know I'm talking.
No, please.
Under the qualifications, or education experience, it says a bachelor's degree from a four-year college or university and 2 years, and then it says and/or. So that would dismiss the bachelor's degree, that and/or entry. However, under minimum requirements, it says a bachelor's degree from an accredited institution and 5 years of, so those are just, they contradict each other. So this is, minimum requirements has 5 years, and then the education has 4 years of experience. So I just want those to align and then eliminate the bachelor's degree.
Do you want to restate that, please?
Yep, sorry. So there's two entries. Under education and experience, it says bachelor's degree from a four-year college or university and two 4 years of related experience. Now, that is dismissed by the next term and/or, because you can decide, right, that there's some ambiguity there. However, I think that the 2 to 4 years should then match the minimum. Later, it says minimum requirement, bachelor's degree from an accredited institution and 5 years of full-time experience. So those two entries contradict each other. They're not accurate. And it doesn't dismiss the requirement of a bachelor's degree because it continues to read that these are requirements. So I'd just like to, in fact, just strike the minimum requirements to make this simple. Just strike that paragraph there, and I think the rest of it's fine.
So the motion is to strike the minimum requirements. Do we have a second? And it'll be voice, please, or raise your hand. Let me know if there's a second on the motion.
Seconded.
So we have a motion and a second to amend the job description for general manager only. Any more comments? So let's do a roll call vote on the amendment.
Alderman Anderson,
No.
Alderman Crosland,
Yes.
Alderman Threet,
Yes.
Alderman French,
Yes.
and Alderman Horsley.
No.
Motion fails, so now we're going to go back to the original motion and second to approve the job descriptions for general manager, event coordinator, part-time event staff and laborer, part-time bookkeeper, and accountant. And so we have, motion was made by Alderman Crosland, seconded by Alderman French. Let's vote, please. Motion fails 3-2.
Can I make a motion on the other descriptions? Move forward. And
Wait a minute,
or is that just for general manager?
that was for all.
Okay.
We grouped them all. So I'd like to thank everybody for not approving job descriptions for jobs that we know we need. Good job. B Historical Zoning Commission, it's a mayoral appointment with BOMA confirmation. The two names that I have appointments is Annie, Jose, and can't say your last name, Madeline McLaughlin, and I apologize for that up front, okay?
Two vacancies, only
Two-
two applicants.
Two vacant seats, two applicants, and that's who we'd like to see sit on that. Could I get a motion in a second? Looks like we have that from, motion from Alderman French, second by Alderman Crosland. Do we have any comments? Hearing none, let's vote, please. Motion carries 5-0. Duck River Utility Commission, it's a BOMA appointment. We have one applicant turned in, and that is James Wilhelm. So at this time, we'll take a motion in a second, please. Motion by Alderman French. Second by Alderman Crosland. Any discussion? Let's vote, please. Motion carries 5-0. Planning and Zoning is a mayoral appointment that doesn't need a vote, and I appoint Mitch Umberger to Planning and Zoning. 11, items from Board of Mayor and Aldermen. Alderman Anderson.
No.
Alderman Crosland.
No, sir.
Alderman Threet.
No.
Alderman French.
Yeah, since I voted in the dissent on, and it failed, on the ordinance giving the power of the property, I lost my train of thought as far as what it's titled, the public officer. I wanted to speak before that because the only thing I wanted to see added to that, and I would like to bring it back, is because I think this is a reasonable change to bring it back up for reconsideration. So I'd like to make a motion for reconsideration on it, and I can do that since I voted in the dissent. The only thing I wanted to add is that once there is a complaint, which it says at least 5 residents or the public officer deems it unfit, the only thing I would like for that to do is for it to go in front of a committee, either planning and zoning, or if you want to follow that under the street department, either way, I just would like, at that point, once there becomes a complaint, that it just goes to a committee and the committee give them permission to forward it forward. So essentially, the officer would bring the evidence and say, this is why I think this is a dilapidated property because otherwise they can get us into legal conversations without it ever coming before an elected body. I just would like to add that amendment that it go before a subcommittee for approval.
So a motion to reconsideration is in order. Alderman French was on the losing side of that, I guess. The Slum Clearance Act, as written in this proposed code, was prepared, this law was prepared and voted on by the legislature of the state of Tennessee. And this proposed act or ordinance was written by the University of Tennessee Municipal Technical Assistance folks at the University of Tennessee. So it's not like this has not been vetted, and it's not like that it's not been looked at by multiple experts in this area. The motion to reconsider is in order, and it's the only way you're going to be able to pass it on the second reading today, so that's why it's been reconsidered. Nobody mentioned that in the beginning because somebody got up and said there were issues with it. It can always be amended, but this is the best written ordinance for the issues we have, for the time that we have to put it in place. And if we don't, then it takes, and Ms. Fisk can tell you this, it takes 6 months to 2 years, and George can too, to get this stuff to Chancery Court because it's just a different tool or a different vehicle for disputes. This is written to get things done quicker, but with a good due process for folks who are violating city code.
To add further comment, right, I mean,
Occasionally.
I'm sorry, I was speaking first, please. So to add further comment, I mean, at the end of the day, right, I mean, part of what our problems are is we have condemned properties. Takes us 2 years. They turn into eyesores and safety hazards for the citizens of Manchester, right? Everybody wants to see this move along a little quicker. It's not like we're trying to take anybody's rights. I mean, most of them, we can't find the owners half the time. So, I mean, I think it is a very good opportunity with putting in some extra language like Alderman French did, where there's a couple more checks and balances in the middle of this. Alderman Threet, go ahead.
These would occasionally come to city court.
They do under some circumstances for certain things, but you can only fine people $50 at max, and they thumb their nose at it.
Yeah, I think there was something about if it was a continuing event. And plus the court costs were, not inconsequential.
That's correct. They can cost a lot of money, a lot of attorney time. This is a way to do things in the right way, but do it within the administrative confines of City Hall. There's lots of checks. People can file a writ of cert for an arbitrary and capricious decision if they wanted to appeal anything from this administrative action, and then it goes to Chancery Court. So this is just another level to get things done. It can get the city reimbursed for the gas and the mowers and the things that have to come out and correct people's property sometimes. It's being enacted across the state.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Alderman Anderson. Any more comments?
I appreciate, sorry I didn't press my button. I appreciate Attorney Johnson's explanation of this. Thank you.
So we have a motion and a second. We'll do voice vote, please.
Alderman Anderson.
Aye.
Alderman Crosland.
Aye.
Alderman Throop.
Aye.
Alderman French.
Aye.
Alderman Parsley.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
And the only other thing that I have is, since I was in dissent, I would like to bring the job descriptions up again next month with my amended language, since it was not in the original presentation, but I'll put it on for next month's agenda. Or
Thank
if
you.
want to do a special called meeting. I didn't think that the description amendment would fail, especially since it contradicts, so I'm certainly not trying to stand in the way of progress on that. That needs to be fixed, and I thought it was a clerical thing that we could do.
Thank you. Alderman Parsley? So, we have Beer Board next, but before we adjourn, I'd like to make a couple comments. I mean, it's very hard to move the city forward when you have a team of directors who work extremely hard, and some of us up here don't do our work to support them. And specifically, you didn't pass a simple rezoning from a county RS1 to R1, which is a city, same code, right? I don't even understand that, just if I'm being honest, okay? And the rest of it, all you hear is how bad our infrastructure is for water and sewer. Okay? If you don't like the percent that we're asking to be raised, make a motion, amend it, do something. But to vote no is not how we move forward. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
May I make a request?
I removed my movement.
So I just want to point out that the Agbagor property has been annexed. It's officially a city property. And with you all failing the zonings, it is floating without a zone. So I would like to request, I understand you all failed the zoning, but would you all like to send it back to Planning Commission for reevaluation or something of the sort?
I'll
So
make
there
that
can be
motion
some-
to send it back to planning for reevaluation. And I would like there to be, and I think Mayor Hobbs made a really good point, just maybe on the front end, go ahead and start having the conversation about taking the road into the city. I think that would be appropriate. Only because I can't think of another, it's like it's driving to an island. I can't think of another example of that in the entire city where it exists.
Okay, I'll see how I can make that move forward.
I'll make a motion for reconsideration on that as well, since I voted in the dissent. I think we all did.
Do we have a second?
The reconsideration is just to send it back to planning and zoning.
Seconded.
So we have a motion and a second to send that back to zoning, planning and zoning. We have any comments? Hearing none, let's vote please by voice.
Alderman Anderson. Aye. Alderman Crosland.
Aye.
Alderman Free.
Aye.
Alderman French.
Aye.
Alderman Parsley.
Thank you. Now I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Look, guys, I'm ready to move on. Sorry, let's go. We have a motion to adjourn. And a second. We vote, please. We're adjourned. Next is beer board. Hey, Director Perry, we're still going to take it back. We're going to take it back to committee, so just bear with us. Okay, so I'd like to call the meeting to order. Could I get approval of the agenda, please, with a motion and a second? Alderman French makes a motion. Do we have a second?
Seconded.
Have a second by Alderman Crosland. Any comments about the agenda? Hearing none, could we voice vote, please?
Alderman Anderson. Aye. Alderman Crosland.
Aye.
Alderman Free.
Aye.
Alderman French. Alderman Parsley.
Agenda is approved. Any citizens that would like to make comments? Hearing none, turn it over to you, Chief.
Thank you. So presented for the Beer Board's consideration tonight is a request for approval of a new beer permit. On Wednesday, July 1, 2025, Ekata Patel applied for an off-premise beer permit for a business located at 1973 Hillsborough Boulevard, Manchester, Tennessee, otherwise known as Gas and Go. The business now has a beer permit number 732 that will become null and void as a new permit goes into place and permit 732 is returned, subject to the approval of the board tonight. A copy of the lease agreement and the City of Manchester business tax has been provided. A Tennessee criminal history records check was conducted with no findings. The applicant's request was found favorable for the board's consideration this evening.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, let's vote, please. Vote yes. Motion carries 6-0.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
We have a second?
Seconded.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you, guys.